All right, so three, two, one. Abram, it's always a pleasure to see you. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you, Leon?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Thank you for jumping in and sharing your experience with Selfmastered. Give us a little bit of context of who you are, what you do, and then
Sure.
why did you join?
Yeah, sure. My name is Abraham Lim. I run a IT consulting firm in Canada called Mindfield Consulting Corp. And we specialize in three areas. One is custom software development, one is in IT advisory, and then thirdly in e-learning. So yeah, I think I joined in the fall, late fall. So right now it's coming on December. So it's just my first quarter with Self-Mastered. I think yeah, one question that would come up is like why did I join? And I was literally Googling for help in performance, especially for focusing on entrepreneurs. And why I did this was because I was feeling like my business was at a plateau. I've been operating and running this business, growing this business. This is my 24th year, so it's been a long time for me. But for the last couple of years since coming out of COVID, I just felt like our company was just spinning its wheels, like always talking about growth, but not really growing. And then personally, I was feeling really like lackluster, complacent, not really driving forward, working on the business. And I was just looking for a little bit of a spark and inspiration, and wanted to do it with top performance. And that's where I found Self-Mastery.
And what happened?
Yeah, results wise for this quarter, I was just looking at our reporting. This quarter, in the business, we focus on just one area. It's on our managed service providers, our e-learning business. And the reason we wanted to focus on this was our exit strategy wanted to create a change the way our revenue structure was so that it was more subscription-based, more recurring revenue. And that's going to help with the valuation of the company.
Mhm.
So we focused on that this quarter, and subscription revenue is up 45% year over year. I'm just looking at my notes here.
Good.
But actually, another bonus is that the professional services that stems from these recurring clients is up 382% year over year. And that's just the first quarter. So I'm really looking forward to what's gonna come over the next few quarters as we continue to stay consistent on our protocols.
Absolutely.
Personally, like I said, I was feeling complacent before, but now feeling more driven, probably more than I have in a couple of years here. Um, I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've realized out of Self-Mastered is that in order to level up, you yourself have to level up in terms of what you can handle.
That's very
Yeah,
telling.
so that's been yeah, what results I've gotten and what I've learned.
Fantastic. Now, I'm interested in this because I remember when we started working together, you felt like, you were not sure whether that business plateau, so to speak, was a result of you not feeling as intrinsically wired or motivated to just pursue new growth opportunities. You didn't know if you were the bottleneck or not. Like you had this, idea that that might be the case, but you haven't really seen discussed. I remember that thesis quite enough, right? So it was more like an intuition that you somewhat had. But then when we started working together, you really shifted and went into this mindset of, listen, the answer is within. We know that the more I know and the more I work on myself, the more clarity you are going to have on the business front. So walk me
Yeah,
through a little bit that, because I think that's fascinating. You've been 24 years running a successful business, right? That
yeah.
is incredible, right? You already know all the tips and tricks, which of course you always need to expand and learn new things, but technically wise, you're elite at what you do, right? So it was not knowing what to do. The bottleneck was something else.
Yeah, it's interesting. One thing that actually, as I went through the program, that really jumped out to me is that there's a lot of protocols. And every time I went through that, I was like, hey, I've done some of these protocols before. Do I still do them? Not really. When did they leave? Not really sure, but they've kind of worked out their way out. And did I know that these protocols had anything to do with my business? And no, the answer is no. By happenstance or good coaching or what books I happen to be reading throughout my life, I had happened upon these protocols before, and had implemented them at some point in life before, and maybe that's what got me to where I am today. But certainly, as if you didn't realize that they were all part of the same thing, and I think that's what Selfmastered really highlighted, is that in order to level up and really be that elite entrepreneur, that elite leader, everything has to align to a particular purpose. I think the word you use is intention. So let's go with that word. So what has happened over the last 3-4 months for me is that recrystallizing that intention. That Simon Sinek always asks, well, find your why. This was a pause. Like, I'd done that exercise to find my why 15 years ago or 20 years ago. But if I looked at that why and tried to check off some boxes, most of it's already checked off. And maybe that's why that why is not relevant to today. So this was a spur to reconnect back, self-discovery, really explore again what your why is in the new context. And once you find it again, then I think everything starts to fall into place. Not to say that I've got all the protocols back down and have it all back in form. Like, I still struggle with some of these protocols, but I can see a purpose. And that's, I think if you get that one is your number one help. It's the number one thing that's going to help you focus your life and your business.
Brilliant. Well, what you just described as self-actualization is a never-ending quest towards becoming your absolute best version, based on what you're able to do. And some people struggle with purpose because they believe it is a set destination, and it is not. It is an ever-changing direction for your life that you keep polishing and iterating and perfecting time over time over time. So I'm not surprised that what motivated you 15 years ago is not what motivates you now, and you may have be out of touch with their original purpose because you're a different human being. You are literally ascended probably in the consciousness ladder without getting too technical, but the idea is that you have a higher level of personal mastery, which means that the purpose that pulls you forward has to be different.
Yeah.
And this is why it is so important to get to know yourself, so important to understand that the deeper you go in your self-knowledge, the higher you fly in business.
Yep. There's also something to be said about those assumptions, things that we may have considered values before, but never having questioned them, never having to re-explore them and going like, why do I believe in this? And why do I still believe in this? And some of them are very self-limiting. Well, I sort of discovered self-sabotage is a thing that we talk about a lot in this program. And for me, I really identified with that. I think personality-wise, and more of a pessimist in nature. So that's always going to be there. But there are protocols to help combat that. And I guess the good thing is that there is protocols to combat that. The bad thing is if you don't keep up with the protocols to combat it, that negative self-talk and that self-sabotage always creeps in. That's the nature of the entropy.
Every time. The absolute best elite sports players, they're still elite sports player because they still do the things that made them elite sports player, right? If Djokovic, I always talk about Djokovic because I really like the guy, but Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, doesn't matter, right? If he doesn't do what he knows is going to prime him for elite performance, he's not going to perform at his peak, right? If he neglects his sleep, health, his mental routines, have no idea why this is here.
If you stuck your thumb up.
Really, dude, because okay, this
Yep, it does good.
how can I turn this off? Anyway, so you absolutely gotta do them. I'm not surprised, right? It's
Yep,
always you find it, the purpose, you polish it, set the vision, create a system, create a milestone, go after it, and then prime everything in your life, right? Spiritual side, your mental side, physiological side, and then your executive function within the business to pursue it. And how has your ambitions evolved, right? New purpose. You're obviously super skilled, super experienced. Now with this new purpose, how are you going after new goals? Anything you can share in how you have shifted your perspective in terms of future goal setting and business planning?
sure, sure. I think for me, I am in the latter half of my working career, so a lot of my, at least the intention for the business is to exit well. So a lot more focus on what is the exit strategy and how do we reorganize ourselves and shape our business towards that end. Like for us, we want a strong valuation because really we want to get purchased. So that's what we're looking at. We've been talking to folks that might be interested to purchase, talking to other entrepreneurs who've already exited certain businesses to see how they exited well, and kind of trying to creating goals for ourselves to towards that end. So one of the things for us that I've mentioned before is just changing the makeup of our revenue structure. Because of ours is a service business and it's B2B. If we do continue to do custom software and IT advisory, those are very one-off. I do a custom software for you. I do a custom software for you. It works well. It worked well for us for 24 years, almost 25. But when you're trying to get a valuation, it's one and done. What happened to that customer that you served 24 years ago? Do you still serve them? It's harder to say that you do, right? So that's why trying to reshape the business, meaning we have to focus on areas that create a little bit more sustaining revenue, something that is easily transitioned to another person to operate. So creating systems makes sense. Like we want to create systems that transcend us, something that can be ported away from us and just be sold. And that's what Selfmastered focuses on, like systems of you, systems for your business. I gotta do a shout out for the tool set. I'm just only starting to use just parts of the Selfmastered dashboard this quarter. I think it makes a great scorecard for us. So we've been using it as our weekly scorecard internally in the business. Meet with our other leaders here, and they all have a section to fill out for their scorecards. So it's worked out quite well for us. So I'm excited to see what the other parts of the dashboard once we start to implement those, and see if it can even benefit the other leaders. So there's actually a bit of a spillover effect because once you as the entrepreneur or the leader in your particular business start to get on board with the tools and the protocols, you'll find that some of the tools is also beneficial for running your business. And just by the fact that you're using it, your other leaders are using it too.
But gotta be otherwise, right? Once you go through Self-Mastery, you understand that showing up of your best is just a matter of the systems you create for yourself. So you have a choice, right? Because most people mistakenly believe that having a good day is something that happens randomly every now and then. No, you can probably engineer a string of very good days because you have the protocols and you have the tracking system and the dashboard. So what happens is that your mentality switches, because if you know that you can drive yourself to your peak pretty consistently using a specific set of paradigm shifts and mental models and tools, why would you not want the same for your teammates? Because you want them to work as well as possible.
Part of the same system, really.
Exactly, right? But also because you want to help them realize that there's so much more that they can tap into that they haven't done it because they don't know they can. right? So that creates a cascading effect, which is why we always work with leaders. Doesn't really matter how big the organization is, because we know the trickle effect.
Yeah.
You see yourself differently, you see your team differently, they see you differently. It creates this positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
how's your relationship with the team changed? Because that's very interesting to explore.
I think there is a sense now that we're moving with more purpose and more focus. That's the feedback I've gotten, is that this time we are more targeted with our quarterly goals. It's not just like full court press all the time. There is there is I mean, you look at your leadership team, like, be realistic with what, how many people you have there and what goals they can achieve inside of a quarter. I think from being too complacent over the last couple of years, I've relied a lot on my leaders to drive the growth. But they're looking at their leader going, well, he's complacent. Why should I be driving the growth? So now that you're on the program, take charge of your business, go, pull the reins, but just make sure that we do it realistically, like you give your team goals that are attainable that within that quarter.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Based on your
So more
experience,
focus, for sure.
last question, but based on your experience, who do you think this is for? Because we train all sorts of entrepreneurs and in the past also executives, right? But
Yeah.
based on your experience, based on the people you've met, based on the effect it has had on you, what do you think this is for?
I'll start with if you're talking like a profile like mine. So if you've been at your business for a while, you've gotten to that place where you've hit all your goals that you may have set earlier. You may have achieved your whys that you set earlier. And you're at that place where you're at the back half of your career looking at what's next. How does the end of this go? This is for you, because this helps you kind of refocus, recapture what's the purpose for the back half of your career. Whether you want to do more business or finish this business well, it could be anything, but I think what this does is aligns and puts that into crystal clear focus for you. That's one. And then second is it helps you to rebuild the systems of yourself to take on that next level of challenge. As I look around, like, in terms of entrepreneurs, this is obviously a tool set for entrepreneurs. I'll say who's not for. Like, if you're running that business where you just want to be a lifelong operator of a business, it's probably not for you. But if you have any aspirations to grow or build that business to a next level, you're looking at that next challenge, but you just need a helping hand, some tools, some focus, some minds to discuss with, to share with. It's a lonely world being an entrepreneur, because the buck always stops with you. Every success is because of your team. Every failure is because of you. So having a community to share with here, and also the access to Leon to have these one-on-one coaching sessions is also super helpful. Helps keep you accountable, helps keep you motivated, reminds you, especially if you've got a lot of negative self-talk, reminds you that you're on a heroic journey.
Indeed, you are.
Yeah, and then I think, yeah, so if you have any aspirations to grow your business or build it, to change it, then this is for you. If you just want to operate it and retire, it's probably not.
Yeah, you gotta be ambitious and you gotta be willing to look inside in order to grow.
Yeah.
Abraham, thank you very much for your time. It's an absolute pleasure having you in the community. And let's set the stage of an Elite 2024 together. I'm excited to see what we can build.
Yeah, so am I.
Let's go.
Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.